Joining us on the How Did You podcast today is retired police officer Ben Pearson, who has now turned to YouTube and is also a mental health advocate. How are you doing, Ben?
I'm all right, thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
How are you finding your life at the moment? Because obviously you're a police officer in multiple divisions in Yorkshire and you had multiple different experiences, but now you're a YouTuber with a clothing line and a mental health advocate. But obviously you couldn't have been expecting this.
Yeah, definitely. I've got what's someone said the other day, is it called Imposter Syndrome, where I just don't think I'm worth speaking to. I don't think I'm worth talking to or interviews, and I just think it's completely and utterly bizarre. I'll give you how bizarre it is. I still clean my neighbours' cars to keep my feet grounded, because if I don't, I just think your head can go a bit away with it. But yeah, I've come from police. I feel like I failed in police, but people say I haven't. But I was diagnosed with mental health issues in police. I came out just what I've seen and what I've done. I was sat home and I was just going through what I'm going to do now as a person. Where's my life going to take me? And there's always this sort of like structure in police where when you retire, you've got to have a job technically lesser than what you've been. So you've got to be like stacking shelves at a supermarket or local roads crossing guard. Or, do you know what I mean? Workers, and I'm not saying PCS or something lower, but you go back into the police as a lower role than what you've actually had in the first place. And you lose your identity massively, because I've spent 19 years living under, when I say a regime, that sounds really bad, living under a family and an umbrella that sort of like protects you, tells you how to dress, tells you how to cut your hair, tells you when you're coming to work, structures your life. And it is a life choice. It's not just a job. It's all your life is dedicated to this, all the shifts, the birthdays that you miss, the Christmases, the times you can't book holidays because the Prime Minister's coming to town, or you can't do this because we need you for Tour de France, or we need you for X, Y, and Z. So all these things going around in my head about, I'm going to end up driving a local taxi, or and then once the book sort of like took off, and the reception we had from the Interceptors following, because that's a massive background, is that where people don't realise there's a massive fan base for Interceptors. The book just snowballed, which obviously led into interviews, which led to the second book taking place, which then led to the YouTube channel, which has led to the clothing line, which has now led to hopefully podcasting in the future. So everything is snowballing, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where people are saying you need to have someone help you, you need to have a PA, or you need to have I've had a publicist, you need to have someone that's going to, a manager. And I'm just like, I don't need a manager. I'm just Ben. I'm a retired bobby. I clean cars. I valet motorbikes. You know what I mean? After this interview, I've got to go clean toilets in the house and wash my bathrooms down. So I don't know if people think you like live this sort of like famous A-list lifestyle, but you don't. It's just, we wake up every day, and my journey every day is about speaking to people and trying to get the best out of people and making sure people can be the best they can be.
You mentioned that you've written 2 books, Handcuff Emotions and Hotel Tango 23, but that must have been an interesting experience itself, because you didn't expect to write those books, and they've sitting on Amazon with 5-star reviews, and there's actually some really sentimental stuff in there. How have you found people's reactions to them? Because obviously they're your stories, but now people are reading them.
I think the stories, and not going into any spoiler alerts, is the fact of losing people. Anyone can be in that position, and you don't have to be someone that's unreachable. I mean, a lot of people will write a book about when they got into television and then when they become a multimillionaire, and a lot of people can't relate to that, because it's never going to happen to them. They're never going to be a millionaire or whatever. Where when you lose someone, it happens to every single person, whether you're young or you're old, and everyone's got to go through that grieving period, and everyone's got to go through that period of feeling, and you feel alone. And now, since my mum and dad have gone, and how they've gone, there's only me and my brother now, and we're at the top of the food chain. I know it sounds stupid, we're the next on the conveyor belt to get that stairway to heaven. And then I've got my children behind me, and it's that strange feeling that when I was a child, and I had, say, like 13, 14, and you have your mum and your dad, and you have your nan and your granddad, and hopefully you have your great grandma and granddad, and it's just such a long distance away. It's nearly 100 years away before you're going to be. But then when you're next on this conveyor belt, I know it sounds stupid. I might be 100 before I die, but there's no one in front of me. And it's a bizarre concept. And when everyone's going to lose someone, they'll notice that feeling and that fact. And I think that's what a lot of people have touched on, the fact that it is just a personal aspect of your life that everyone's going to go through. And then we're talking about it then as well, talking about the feelings, talking about the emotions, talking about crying, where a lot of people won't talk about that. And especially being from Yorkshire, we are a hardened bunch of people, and we just do not like to talk about emotions, especially men. And that's where I think I've hit a nail on a bit of a head. And I've obviously I've brought a lot of people out of the shells, and it's like one of the first things I can say to you now, Paul, is my name's Ben Pearson. I've got mental health issues. My name's Ben Pearson, and I'm happy to cry. Sometimes nights I cry myself to sleep. But I'm not ashamed of that, and I don't see why people have to be ashamed of it. But I think that's what's touched on a lot of people, is the fact it could happen to anyone, regardless of the role I'm in the police officer role. It could happen to any single person around us.
Your story and your whole YouTube channel reflects on the experiences of you as a police officer, but also your mental health journey and the whole PTSD awareness surrounds all blue light workers, all mental health people that may even need it. It's also benefited a lot of other people to the point where you decided to create your own clothing line. How does that feel? Because that couldn't have been something that you or baby Ben or anybody just driving down the road would have thought of. Does it go back to that imposter syndrome?
That started because, I've always, the way I look at life is, not like Alan Sugar or anything like that, but my brain's constantly spinning. And I don't know if this is part of the illness or this is part of something where a doctor look at you and you've got, I don't understand these things, so please don't think I'm being rude. You've got ADHD, you've got so and so, but my brain's constantly spinning all the time. I'm laid in bed and it won't shut off, and that's added to the illness. But I have, put it this way, you go past a garage sale. I'm not one to drive past. I'm one of those to stop. There might be something here. There might be a bargain. Someone on the street sells a car. Oh, and you're thinking, well, how much is car? Could I sell it and flip it? Can I make a bit? So everything is always, with me, it's not always about making money, but it's always about succeeding and pushing the boundaries of what you've done. I don't want to be one of those people, back to this story of being on the conveyor belt to heaven. I don't want to be one of these people that gets to pearly white gates and knocks on them, and St. Paul or St. Peter, whoever it is, comes out with his big golden book and says, "Oh, Ben Pearson, do you feel like you've had a good life? Do you feel like you've done as much as you can do?" I don't want to be one of these people that says no, and I haven't done as much as I can do. So all these thought things, I've gone round in my head for years, and I've always wanted to have. It's going to sound so weird. You look at clothes, like I'm looking at you now, you've got Hilfiger on yours. I've always wanted to have a T-shirt with something, or a piece of merchandise with something on it that relates to something, but nothing, just not a name. It's got to relate to something passionate, something that's got a meaning behind it. And then we were talking, me and one of my friends who's a graphic designer, and he were on about wanting to start doing clothing. But I want to do clothing, but I want to get my message out there for mental health so that people can wear it. And I'm not being funny that you're in a certain little club, that you can wear it and someone who knows like that person is in the same club, even if you're not wearing yours. And then that's where the 1965, because that's where my collar number came from, Ptsd Awareness. So people can, now when I was younger, when I say younger, I don't mean when I was a kid, say 10, 15 years ago, when I saw someone that had PTSD, instantly I thought of a war hero. I thought of someone coming back from Vietnam or from Falklands or from Desert Storm, Iraq and Iran and this sort of thing. And that's it. You closed off, you're an army vet. But PTSD happens to a lot of people. It happens to people who've been sexually abused. It happens to people who've been in traumatic events like murders, serious car accidents. But it also happens to frontline staff such as ambulance, fire, paramedics, doctors, nurses, police, army, navy. It's not such a taboo subject anymore. So then when we had it and we got our first drafts of the T-shirts, and I'm looking at a T-shirt with Dan's design on it. Don't forget we're a friendship and we work together. So I want to have this sort of thing. And he went, yeah, I can see what you mean, but I'll do. So then when we had it, and so he goes, well, it's his design, it's our label, but it's about my background. So it's a three-way journey. Yeah, it's interlinked and that sort of thing. And when you see it, you're thinking, wow. But then when you're seeing people put them on the Instagram and you're seeing people, I've seen a young lass in one not so long since walking out straight, and now I was blown away. I think she's about 14 and she's wearing a t-shirt, and I'm driving down and I'm thinking like, you instantly, and my jaw dropped, and I'm like trying to stare. And it was one of these things like, you can imagine seeing Elvis walking out straight, so like, is that Elvis? And my mouth open, and I'm like, they're wearing one of my t-shirts. And it's like that feeling of pride, not only that they're wearing it because, yeah, all right, they might wear it because it's Ben Pearson's from Interceptor, but they're wearing it because it's got a mental health logo on it. It's got a mental health background on it. And I was proud. I was proud of what I've done and what I could. And I'm not being funny. I could have retired from police and said, got a job at a supermarket stacking shelves. Just given up, switched off and forgot about it. And then that taboo subject would still be there. People wouldn't be talking. Police officers wouldn't be talking. People would still be committing suicide. We'd be burying a lot more sons, brothers, cousins, fathers. And that's what we're out to get. We're out to stamp on this from a great eye and just say, look, there's ways out. There's ways of talking. So, yeah, massively, massively proud. And I had no idea. The day I retired, I think for about 2 days afterwards, I was just crying. I was shaking, I was crying because I thought, I just don't know what. And I'm being honest with you, I thought the only way I can see out here is in deep, dark abyss, either at the bottom of a bottle or committing suicide, because it was getting that bad at the time. So, yeah, when I'm wearing the T-shirts, when I'm wearing the hoodies, I'm proud. And I'm proud to wear them. And so are my friends. I've got so many friends that I've got them now, and they go to shops in them. My last wears them. We've got caps coming out next week. We've got beanies. We're opening to bring drinks balls out, key rings. But it's all about that message of just mental health and saying it's all right to talk. I just did, when it came out, the first one, and that's Handcuffed Handcuffed Emotions, one a book. It was just meant to be like I wouldn't even say a memoir. I just had all these stuff going around in my head all the time, and I just wanted to put something down on paper. And with being dyslexic, I'm not a cameraman. I'm not a computer man. I'm not a natural born typer. I do struggle. And don't get me wrong, in the police, it started from our one finger typing when I first started. But then 19 years later, I could sit there and I could look at computer and I could type quite fast. But I wasn't. It was the grammar were disgusting, the spelling were disgusting. There were numbers where the letters should be. There were letters where the numbers should be. So it just started out as a bit of a memoir, if you want to say that sort of word. And it was only when people started getting to grips with it and reading it and said, this could technically be a book. And then it sort of like manifested itself from there and just gained. And then I sought some help. And then eventually that's where the stamp come from. And the name, ironically, it started talking about mental health, and it started going on a different tangent and a different journey. And now we're in car one day and I thought, imagine if you could like arrest your thoughts and put them in prison. And then that's where it sort of like came from, because I thought all you want to do is sometimes when you're poorly, you just want to shut stuff away. No matter who you are and what you do, you just want to shut it away, close that door and crack on with your normal day because you feel like it's bagging you down. And that's where the title came from. Just sat in car and I thought, Handcuffed Emotions, take them at cells. So
we do have to have a little bit of fun though. And recently you released, and may still be on sale now, a Miss Miggins t-shirt, which is based on a character that you created for your videos. But you've had people like Ben Francis from Gymshark mention your style of video and how you sat down and talked about things. How have you found that? Because, like I say, you can have fun, but you also get praise and everything. So you've created a character,
yes.
And there's now t-shirts around it.
Yeah. It's like people have messaged me saying, do you know Mrs. Miggins is from Blackadder? And I'm like, what? Well, it's just like saying Mrs. Smith. And I was like, well, I could have said Mr. Smith. And they went, well, do you know John Smith's like a brewery? Well, it's not that John Smith. Just because I said Mrs. Miggins. So I did some Googling and research beforehand, before we did the t-shirts. And it comes out there are people called Miggins. It's not just one name that's made up by Blackadder, which I didn't know in the first place. But there are people called Mrs. Miggins, so you can't copyright the name. It's not like I'm putting a Blackadder image on it, because I didn't know that. Mrs. Miggins is the fictional character that gets it in the way, or she's always at the wrong place at the wrong time. She's the one when you're in a pursuit pulls out in a little Fiesta, with Doris going at shops. She's the one that ends up getting burgled or robbed. She's always this person that's got a heart of gold, but she's just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And we're there to protect Mrs. Miggins. We're there to look after her. And again, Dan, who does the designs, I knew, this is how bizarre it is, I knew exactly the design I had for Mrs. Miggins. But I was thinking like a purple rinse or a blue rinse, which were proper 80s design haircuts for old women. When you used to have, you're probably like too young. I mean, how old are you?
21.
Yeah, completely and utterly. 3 sheets to win this. In 70s and 80s, you used to go to hairdressers and they were all lined up front back with these things on, and they all took them off, and everyone that were over 65 had a blue rinse. And this is Mrs. Miggins. And when he sent me the image of the Mrs. Miggins promo t-shirt, I were in stitches, and that's the archetypal image you're going to get from if anyone sees this image, this is the person that's in the car. This is the person that's pulling out. This is the person that gets robbed. This is the person that helps you. So this is Mrs. Miggins. And yeah, the fan base for Mrs. Miggins has gone ballistic. The amount of messages I get about Mrs. Miggins. I was going to put an image of my grandma on it and said, this is Mrs. Miggins. But I didn't want, not that my grandma would be a laughing stock, but I didn't want my grandma to be a focal point for other people. But his image is just brought it up to front. So we've got a load of designs, but what we're not going to do, we're not going to stomp the market with all these designs, because we think that the message gets overrun. We've got one more that we're probably going to bring out, and we think for time being that's going to be it. We've got core merchandise, and we want to do odd limited edition one that people actually want us to do. So yeah, we'll get that Monday morning. There's going to be a few modelling shots. I don't know why it's modelling shots because I'm fat and old and stuff like that, but what I mean is like a few image shots, and then they're going to be on sale. But there's only limited stock, and we're massively proud to do it.
You say the core message of your channel is literally the most relatable content, because it's focusing on your story of PTSD awareness and everything that you've done within the police force. But as a person that seriously enjoys your content, it's literally the most relatable content, because I'm a massive fan and it allows me to kind of sit back, relax, take it in. But also within your books that you've written, you also tell more stories in there. But it's not surprising to me that your most viewed video is about the job that broke you, because it's just that relatable. What is your most memorable experience whilst you were in the force?
I mean, don't get me wrong. The people often ask me, would I go back? No, I won't go back to police. But do you have anything negative to say about the police? No, I think lessons could have been learned, but I've got nothing. Nothing's a backstabbing mission. People say, should I join police? Yes, you should do if you want to go for your journey, go for your dreams. So if you think about, I've got 19 years starting out as a beat officer, then a tutor, then I did a bit on drugs team. Then I've gone from there to special operations department in the traffic. Then I've been a tutor in traffic, so obviously Baby Ben. So there's such a wide range of jobs, and I've got massively proud moments, pulling people out of burning cars, receiving bravery awards, talking people down of buildings about to jump, hugging families after people have died, the loved ones have died, and they've held me and not let go. I've got jobs where there's been people trying to get into someone's house, do an aggravated burglary, sorry. So they've been trying to, big house, big wooden door, and they've been smashing the door down with a big axe. They couldn't get through, they made off. We arrived at scene, mother and daughter came out, and they were crying in hysterics, and they just wanted to hold you. And that feeling of like, you're safe, I've got you, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. But then thinking, hang on a minute, all I've got is a club and some spray. I'm not Thor, I'm not Superman, and I don't have a machine gun. But that feeling of when they see the badge and the uniform, they know they're safe, holding people's hands when cars upside down and it's freezing, and taking your own coat off, and you're starting to freeze, you're starting to probably get hypothermic, but you're putting your coat around those people that are trapped in car upside down to make them think, this is what I'm here for, I'm here to hold you, and I'm not going to leave you. If I see you fall, I'll pick you up. If I see you cut, I'll tend to your wounds. And I'll always be there by your side to help you out. But the job itself, like I said, working with Ben has been one of the highlights of my career. There were John and then there were Ben, and the friendship we've got, we're lifelong friends. We're hopefully meeting for a beer soon. The chemistry we had together were fantastic. Every single bit of working with him was just the best thing you could ever expect. But and not to put a down on things, the main thing that I take out of the force is the job that brought me. It's altered my life. It's the thing that I will always remember. It's the breaking point in my career. So you've got so much on it. You're going up the hill to your top part, the ultimate feeling, the ultimate experience, the pursuits, the 100-mile-an-hour chases, the fighting, the burglars, the meeting celebrities, the escorting the Prime Minister on the motorbikes. It's all going up there. But then the thing that sticks all the time is when I drive past the incident, because it's only just down the road from where I live. Time stands still. You go through and I'll actually talking to me in car, kids are talking to me. I go deaf. All I can do is look at where the incident was. I drive through the negative, come out the other side, and it all comes back to life. And it's something I'm going to take to grave with me, and I'm never going to deal with it. Everyone always says, regardless of who you are, you'll always get over stuff. Well, the idea of, and no matter who you are, you don't get over it. You just learn to cope. You learn to deal with it. You have coping mechanisms. You put it away in your little box, and you filter it through, and it's not as bad as what it was. Therapy's helped, but it'll never go away. The things that I saw that day will never disappear. And that's the main thing that I take away with me, because I do think, do not get me wrong, I love where I am now as a person. I love where I am now on this journey. But someone said to me the other day, it's a right weird concept. Without my mum and dad dying, I won't be where I am now for mental health and pushing the message forward for mental health. And if you say, well, would you want your mum and dad back? Well, yeah, of course I want my mum and dad back. But then I'd still be a Bobby as well. I'd still be doing what I'm doing. So you've got to decide which path you've gone on. And I've gone on a path, and I'm on this path now because my mum and dad have gone, and because of the little boy in the field. So I can't turn that around. If you could go back in time, I won't be, it's back to the future scenario, I won't be where I am now. So you're only here because of the circumstances that have led you to this point. And that is the main turning point in my life. And it is a turning point in your life. It's gone from being on one track, and then as soon as that poof broke across the elastic band, it's just gone on a completely different track. And I do sometimes think, I wonder what it'd be like on the other track. If I sat where I am now talking to you, if I didn't have the t-shirts, the clothing, if I didn't have the mental health aspect, if I didn't have the bit of speaking out and telling people, obviously it's okay. I wonder what it'd be like. I wonder where I'd be. I wonder if I'd still be in police, if I'd still be in traffic, just cracking on day to day. But I feel like of all the people I've saved, of all the jobs that I've done, and all the awards that I've got, I feel like I've made more of a difference in the last 2 years of being out of the police than I have in 19 years of being in the police, if that makes sense. I feel I've had more people come up to me saying, you've helped me, you've saved me, you've led me to go to my doctor, I've been diagnosed with this. If it weren't for you, I'd have committed suicide. So that to me now is what keeps me going in the morning. And like I said, the amount of messages I get, I always reply to a message. It might take me time, but I always reply. I always do everything I can to help those people that need a leg up, so to speak, because everyone needs that leg up. There's no one saying I'm better than you, I'm not better than anybody. But yeah, I enjoy where I am now. And when I say I won't change the world, I will, because I want my mum and dad back. But I won't change where I am now at this moment in time, because the amount of people we can help and we are helping, I think it's massive. But yeah, that was a good question, mate. Thank you.
If you were still in the police force, where do you think you'd be? Do you think you'd be a police officer with maybe a firearms training now? Do you think you'd still be driving down with baby Ben? And do you sit in an episode and think, wow, that's just happened?
Yeah. I think I'd like to think that I was still with baby Ben. But ironically now, baby Ben's transferred to North Yorkshire. So he's gone from West Yorkshire to North Yorkshire. So I probably had a jump ship. I've probably gone to North Yorkshire as well. I've always wanted to do firearms. And then when me and a lad called Lee joined the job, it was the same, they put out at the same time, operational support, firearms and traffic. And I always wanted to go to firearms, but I just didn't want to go. It's all based at Wakefield, and I'm in Bingley. So I just thought, I'll put in for traffic, and I'll see. But I always had that reputation for chasing cars, and I thought I'm quite not being big-headed, but I'm quite good at this. So I thought I'd like to do it on a bigger scale and get a faster car. Where Lee now, he's part of this counter-terrorism support, firearms, like our SWAT version, jumping out of planes, jumping out of helicopters, coming down on ropes. He's on these boats in the middle of Thames, dressed like SAS, the train with SAS. So they're like top rank food chain of these people, shooting tires out on cars. They are what you dream to be in the job that you think doesn't happen, and it does happen. That's where they are. Now, he's been on there since he was 25, and he's not far off my age now at 45, where I'm 45. And if I was still in job, you think, there's no way I could do it now. I'm too old. I've got too many injuries. I'm too unfit. I mean, my body is destroyed with the amount of smashes I have. Most people in life might have one car smash, and it's like hurt them. They've got back and neck injuries. They're having physio for years. We were having serious car crashes at high speeds 4 or 5 times a week for 10, 15 years. Our bodies are ruined. My knees are ruined. My spine's ruined. I've got a slip disc and a bulge disc permanently. My pelvis is always offset. I've got a lump. Well, not a lump, but I hunch when I walk. I've got a limp. I've got scars all over my body, so I'm just too unfit to do firearms. But I would love to have done it. But I'm being honest with you. There were a certain point, and I can't put this as being because I was poorly, but there was a certain point that we're in my career, and I was thinking, like, I'm just getting a little bit too old for this. Now, people stay in traffic because it's not an easy cop out, but when you train to a certain level and a higher level as what we were, your experience counts for everything, and you become comfortable in what you do. And imagine coming out of that office and starting somewhere working in B, but you're not. When I say food chain, I don't mean you're the bottom of food chain, but you lose all your skills. All those skills stay in the office. So when you leave the office, you've got nothing. Again, you're starting off fresh in whatever role you go to. You can't come into B who drive Panda cars and say, I'm an advanced driver, I'm bringing a BMW over. I'm a TPAC officer, I'm bringing a Stinger over. It just doesn't work. So whatever you leave in the office, you leave. And there's a lot of things for people there to be able to turn around. And it's that confidence when I'm safer being what I know than why I'm jumping ship. And I will get into that point of going, I love it, but I don't know whether it's the poorly aspect, but I think I could do with a bit of a new challenge here. But a new challenge, I don't know what it'd be. One of the things that I did fancy doing is one of my mates who's going to do it is the operator in X-ray 99, the helicopter. So he's I don't know what they call it, but you've got a pilot, you've got a second in front, and you've got like an observer in back. So the observer's one that does the cameras, does all the comms and that sort of thing. I wouldn't mind doing that. But again, it's where you want to go, what you want to do. And that's back to that road that I'm not on. And there could have been all sorts. I could have gone through ranks, could have tried and be a sergeant, but I try not to give that too much thought now, because I just think back to being how I am as a person now, everything from my life now forward is always on a positive meaning, where before it were negative, and the police, that aspect of it were negative. So just to give you an example of that, when you're in the police, you think the world's 95% shit and 5% good. You think everyone's out to get you. Everyone's like, now I can't speak to you on a camera because you'll film me and it's going to go on national TV. What are you trying to get out of me? You might send a bug through your phone and take my bank account. It's like everything's negative. Well, when I came out, I realised that the world were 95% positive, and it was the 5% negative that you're dealing with all the time. You're in a police station with the criminals coming through all the time. You're interviewing criminals all the time. And then there's a lot of bobbies that you're working with that. It wasn't like it was when I joined. I'd never rejoin again, job's fucked. And you're thinking like, well, no, it's not. It's just that you're a bit of an old rat. So there's a lot of negativity there. And I think when you come out, you realise that the world is a good place. You realise that you do live in a nice area, and you realise there's a lot of good things to be doing and a lot of life to enjoy. And that's what I'm trying to get over to people. Be positive more than negative. You get a lot more out of life when you are positive than what you get when you're negative. So as for answering the question, I don't know. I'm not on that path anymore, but I'd like to think I'd be with Ben. I don't want to be without Ben.
Yeah, when you mention that, it makes me think about the story that you uploaded on your YouTube channel about where you and your brother were in a curry house, because obviously when you're a police officer, you're never really off call, if that makes sense. Like, you're always a police officer, you've always got your badge. So thinking about that and YouTube, where do you see yourself and your YouTube channel in a year?
Well, ironically, we were speaking to Josh about this the other day. What I don't want to do is I don't want to be just a one-trick pony. And I didn't get into YouTube for the sake of getting into YouTube. It's just that I got in contact with one of my friends who's a DJ for one of the radio channels. And he put me in contact with Josh because what I wanted to do, I actually wanted to start doing a podcast. But you've got to understand I'm 45. I don't understand. And it'll happen to you. You'll be 45 one day. And then the 21-year-olds will be doing something and you'll be like, I don't get this. I wanted to do a YouTube. Sorry, I wanted to do a podcast because I just wanted to talk to interesting people. But I don't want to do. So if we've got a podcast coming up, I'll explain to you. I don't want to do. I'm not saying like you're doing it, but I want to do more of a like let's go to a pub kind of thing. And it's like talking like you're all in pub as mates. And I've just met you, and my mate's gone, oh, this is X, Y, and Z. So you shake each other around. Oh, so, you've all been there, haven't you? So how do you know so and so? Oh, I went to school with him. I went at uni with him. All right. And so what do you do for a living? Oh, I miss that and other. And then that's how I want it to be, where it's not so much I'm picking on people to come in because they are. But ironically, that's who I picked to come on. I picked because of the stories. So it's having to word things like, it's having to be more friend than it is interview or whatever. And then Josh went, the stories are so good, we can't just have them as a podcast. We need to have them as a youth, because obviously he's the expert as the YouTube. So it blew up and it was ridiculous, and it's still going. I mean, I think we're on average 250 to 320,000 views a week across all videos. We're 4.8 or 4.9 million views in 7 months or whatever it is, and it's still going faster and faster and faster. And I said to Josh one day, who's a production man, I just feel like I'm a puppet, but not in a bad way. I feel like I'm getting watched, but I can't understand why. Back to this imposter syndrome, I can't understand why people want to watch me or listen to me. But apparently it's clicked onto people and people understand why, and people seem to like it. So if people like it, I'll keep giving them what they want to give. But also, like I said, I want to go down the podcasting route. I wouldn't mind going out and doing, how can put it, not some live things, but going outside and doing some more things outside. Go to some car shows, going to different police venues and doing different things so people can understand that aspect of it. But I think there's also a very, very thin line between that and burning it out, burning yourself out, becoming a bit of a, how can I put it, a fly by night thing. And I'd rather it end on a positive than fade away, because I want him for it for the like YouTube fame. I want him for it for any money. I want him for it for anything else apart from just to tell my story. And yeah, it's got the clothing line out. It's got the mental health aspect out. It's got a massive fan base. So if people are still there, I'll give them what they want. But I don't just want to be a sellout. And Josh knows that. I know that. And I'd rather give them something positive and something to laugh about and something to think about than else. But like I said, maybe in the very near future, there's some podcasting coming up, and we'll see where that goes. Because I think that if we do the podcast and it works well, I think that'll send us into a different stratosphere. I think we're already in talks with some really, really good people. And I think if we got the first ones on, which are awesome guests in the first place, but I think that'll be, we can see what's going on here. Let's get on this. And then obviously, like Jack Mate's coming up to do help Josh out on his podcast. So like people like him and Stevie, we've already invited Stevie up. So hopefully Stevie's going to be on it because he's got some good stuff to talk about as well. I'm not saying Jack doesn't, but so that's why. So, and everyone's there to help everybody else. And then plus that way, if we can get on other people's like True Geordie podcast or whatever, and we can go. Everyone sort of like helps everybody else out, so there are irons in fire, so to speak. So we'll just see where it goes.
I can completely understand it where you're coming from, because I sit here, I book, I edit, I email, I record, I get it all done, and it's quite a difficult thing to do. And I can completely understand where you're coming from, because it's just not easy. And I don't know how you found it so far, but I plan to do what you wanted to do or plan to do. I wanted this to be a friendly talk, and hopefully it is.
Oh, well, that's what I mean. It is, because I have had one or two, which is literally, I had this podcast with this lad, and obviously, I've done, not that I've done so many, but I've done, so he won't realise it's him. But literally, the face came right up to camera, and it was like that. And now, rather than like, now then, how you doing? I was like, camera come up, and he just went, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, yeah. And then, when did you join police? And I'm like, oh, this feels so uncomfortable. So I answered all the questions, and it lasted for about 30 minutes, and he just went, "Thank you." And then the screen went off. And I was sat there thinking, like, oh, God. Not that he wasn't a bad interviewer, but it was just like, I wanted a little bit of banter. I wanted a little bit of fun. I wanted a little bit of come out of your shell. I'm not here to trick you up. You're not here to trip me up. Don't get me wrong, I know I'm mentally poorly, but I knew if someone's going to try and trip me up, I'd just say I'm not interested anymore and switch camera off. So it was like, you can trust me, I'll trust you. Let's have a bit of niceties about it and stuff like that. Like the people that I've invited for the podcast, I said, 10 more biscuits. You're like, let's get some chocolate knobs in. Let's get just little bits of, what do you want to do? Because what I don't want to do is, don't get me wrong, I'm going to be quite nervous, because everyone's going to be nervous, but shit, what do I ask them? So yeah, I'll get some planning done. I'll get a bit of flowing of how I want it to go, a bit of structure and stuff. But a lot of time with my illness, again, so I'll give you this. So we're on motorbike, advanced motorcycle course. So we're riding 1,200 BMWs, and we're going all over England. And I don't think we drop below 100 miles an hour wherever we go. Blue lights going, and they'll say, right, whereabouts do you live? So, like, just say, for instance, you're coming out West Midlands, and they'll say, right, find the A621 towards, I'm just going to say, whatever. Yeah, towards Birmingham. Once you're on there, take the P484 towards Cleckuddersfax, and then I want you to head towards the Royal Memorial Hospital. And you're like, Christ. So you're like, 100 miles an hour. And you're looking at a sign, and all of a sudden, sign starts moving around with figures and numbers and names and this sort of thing. So it's like, there's dyslexia and dyspraxia. So it all starts moving around when the pressure was just getting so good. So sometimes, like, they might say, right, it's going to be your fourth left. So they won't tell you what road it was. You'd have to look for signs. So I can sit and talk to anyone tumbling face. But if I'm talking to you about questions and I've got to look away and read a question and look back, I've lost that flow. So what I want to do is have a bit of a flow on a piece of paper. And I just really want to think, right, I've got this, and let's just wing it. And then, like, I've been told that's not really professional, but I'm not really a professional sort of person. Don't get me wrong, I know my P's and Q's, I know what to say, what not to say, but I like to have that flow. I like to have that thing, like I said, you're just in a pub. I'm not aiming to get anything deep out of you, but what I'm aiming is you to like me so much that you will just talk to me about those deep things, and I will react to those deep things as like, Jesus Christ, really? Or rather than like, well, I know that. Yeah, I know that, and I know you're going to say it to me. And I've got to have like a little bit of surprise. But so, yeah, I think that's how we're going to have a go at it. And it's going to be nervous. I don't know how we're going to get on, but we're just going to try it.
Yeah, I can completely understand where you're coming from, because honestly, I never thought I'd be speaking to you. I never thought I'd be speaking to Josh. I never thought I'd be attracting people from the television industry that would want to come and sit down with me. But honestly, I haven't really prepared too much just for you. I've literally just prepared me reading through your books, 5-6 questions, and that's literally all I've done, because I wanted to talk about you rather than having a script, because it will be boring.
Well, that's what I just think. So back to, I went to a best man at someone's wedding, and I wrote speeches, and I was on my 5th speech, because I wrote one, and I was pissing myself. I was so funny, and I was like, I should be a comedian. The next day I read it, and I thought, that's crap. It's not even funny. So I put it away, and I wrote next one. Now Lassie sat looking at me. I've got earphones on, and I'm typing, and I'm wetting myself again. You know what I mean? I think I need to be famous here. I need to be on TV. I need to be this comedian. Next day I wrote it, I thought, that is shocking. People, you know what I mean? So I got to 5th one, and it was a good speech. It was quite good. And I stood up. I think we had 75 people in. And I opened it up, and literally it went blurry. It wasn't pressure, but again, it was because of like the illness. It went blurry. and I'm trying to read off lines, and I thought, and then the joke were there, and I thought, oh. So I just rolled it up, and I was better. I knew what I had in my head, but I was better just talking, because trying to look down and create a flow, I think there's too much pressure on you. And I think what you should be doing, I think you should just hang out as friends, and I think you should just, and like I said, you've got a good aura about you, you've got a good relaxed voice, and I just think that's how people should be. You should be just on the same format. Do you know what I mean? And I personally think you're going to go a long way with how you are, mate. So well done.
I appreciate that a lot, because obviously...
Write them off. You're boring.
See you in a bit, Ben. I know you got the bathrooms to do, so go and get them done. But more than anything, I know we could talk for ages, and I know we could just chat, because it's just how we are. But let's get back onto questioning. How did you find Police Interceptors? Because what was it like just recording it and being within it? Because do you ever like just go and sit there and watch an episode back and think, I missed that, or I would have personally presented it in a different way? Because I believe personally that when things make it to TV from, say, police or ambulance like that, they're actually quite polished.
I think like it's weird. It's really weird because we have cameras in the office all the time. They were filming interceptors, traffic cops. They were filming documentaries. So seeing a cameraman, there were always someone in there. There were always people getting interviewed. They're always, and because of my natural white streak, I'm known throughout our area. So every time I went for a meal or went to pictures or whatever, people would be pig or shouting something. It were all negative. You went to a certain bar, you had to stand with your back to the wall, or people staring at you. So that were a massive negative issue. As soon as I got asked to be on Interceptors, it was Baby Ben who led me down Garden Path. And as soon as I went onto it, and then you become recognised on TV, it were all positive. Since I've been on Interceptors now, I have never had one negative comment. I was getting stopped by the major players and criminals in Bradford who just wanted to talk to you. Where before, they'd have gone, screw you, pig, get a real or whatever, and give you a load of shit. I'm not speaking to you. I know my rights. They were stopping you and asking for, like, to chat to you. I were out with family and I were getting stopped for photos and autographs and stuff like that. And I'm like, why? I'm just a bobby. So it catapulted. You didn't realise it was one of the highest watched show on Channel 5. It were only a couple of 100,000 behind Coronation Street. So it shot you into this limelight thing. And yeah, a lot of bobbies are ready for it because we're bobbies. Then we're told we can't say this, we can't say that, we can't go on this show, we can't go on that show. Where people go on Love Island and instantly come out, they've got a manager, they've got a team around them. But you're on you're not on one episode of Love Island or one series Love Island. You're on like 3 separate series, 16, 17, 18 and 19. So you show more than what they are, but they come out and they're in, because you can't just say, well, I want a manager now. Where if you weren't in that particular bit of the police, you'd have had a manager and it'd shot you into a stratosphere aspect. So you've got to just cope with it as being a bobby. So yeah, everything literally changed from there on. People wanted to speak to you. You go to restaurants or whatever. I'm not saying like you get a better table. People they'd wave at you and they'd speak to you rather than like you had to feel afraid that you're a police officer. People were like, oh, I've seen you on TV and I really like you. Thank you very much. So you felt more comfortable in your own skin. As for Interceptors, I'm so glad I did it. It didn't only boost my confidence, but it made people aware that the job isn't full of idiots. The job's not being, they know you as a person rather than as a uniform, because most people hate the uniform. They don't hate the person, they just hate the uniform aspect. But now, when I don't get me wrong, it's nearly on every single channel on Sky. It's on Paramount, Cops TV, it's on Bravo, it's on every single thing, Forces TV. Wherever you turn on, there's always going to be an Interceptor thing. And the majority of the things that put on now are the West Yorkshire ones. Yeah, so now I've watched the odd one or two. I don't watch it. I don't sit down and watch it. I did when it were on because when it really, oh, look, I remember this job. But you get people saying, oh, I'm watching you now, I'm watching you. So odd one I have sat there and watched, and now I see it both points. Now I see it from a police officer, and then I'll see it from a civilian. As a civilian, I get really annoyed with the prison sentences and this sort of thing. I get annoyed at watching, and you can visibly see the red tape. You can visibly see what they can and can't do, because I see it from both points of view. As a police officer, it frustrates me that there are things that have been cut out that I think they probably could have left in, really, because it shows you it's how people talk to us. But again, it's not on past a certain level. It was on at 8 o'clock, so it's not classed as past the watershed, and lots of kids watch it. So there were a lot more graphic, how can I put it, frustration coming at us when it should have shown that. It should have shown that we're up against a shit wall here and a shit sandwich. When a lot of that were cut out, because it'd have given more love for police. It'd give people far more love for police. But yeah, it's an experience in life that, again, like you said, I never thought I'd be sat here. I never thought people would want my book. I never thought people would want to shake my hand. It's bizarre when we go shopping and people ask for autographs or ask for photos. And I just think it's bizarre. I don't get it. I've never understood it. I never will understand it. And if people want it, I will do it for them. It's fine. Anyone can talk to me. Anyone can approach me. But all I'd say is, this is really funny. If you approach me and speak to me, have something to say. It's really weird. Someone walks up to you and you're with your family and they walk up to you and they'll stand right in front of you and they'll just be like, seen you on TV. And you're like, yeah. And they're like, just looking at you and like, it's like they want to prod you.
Are you real?
Yeah, it is like, yeah. You all right? Yeah. And the thing comes out wanting to prod you and you're just a little bit like, just talk. I'm fine. Everyone's fine. But talk. One thing I didn't like though is one person tried to like pat my daughter on the head, and she's like 7. Well, she was 6 at the time. Or was she 5? No, she was 6 at the time. And I thought, I was like, no, it's me. Don't involve my kids. And Harriet got quite upset about it, and it freaked her out a little bit. And I'm like, don't involve my family. And you can see why I'm not even a Z-list celebrity. But you can see why people that are A-list celebrities literally don't want the family in spotlight, because it felt really creepy. But yeah, anyone else? I love I love what people like about it, and I love the fact it shows people in a proper light, and it shows Bobby's in a proper light and stuff. So yeah, I'm glad I did it, and I won't change that for the world.
I think, Ben, that we're actually going to end it there. So thank you very much.
Are you happy?
Of course, I'm happy.
Is it you?
I'm sat here speaking to you. I never thought I'd be sat here speaking to you, so thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, pal.
So thank you very much.
So, are you ending recording?
Yeah. Shall I?
Yeah. Can I just say, before you end it, can I just say to people, like, no one, and I mean no one, has to struggle. So if you do struggle, there's a reason you're struggling. Don't ever be scared of just speaking up, and don't ever be saying, look, I'm asking for help. So I've never met you before, but I would happily say that I've got issues. So if you can say that to a stranger, you can say it to a loved one. Do you know what I mean? And don't end up struggling. There are choices and there are ways out. So yeah, that's all I want to say.